Good morning. This is David Hucks reporting for Myrtle Beach SC News in Surfside Beach. Today, the town of Surfside Beach is calling an emergency meeting to discuss the piece of land here behind us. As you saw, this land is listed in the property of Tidelands Commercial Real Estate. The land is held in an LLC owned by Brown Bethune. Brown Bethune is the manager of Tidelands properties. His wife, Mayor Brenda Bethune, runs the city of Myrtle Beach. Today, the town of Surfside Beach has called an emergency meeting to rezone this piece of property. This is a bizarre story, insomuch as the town of Surfside Beach recently fired or dismissed or demoted or forced to resign their planning commissioner. Her name is Sabrina Morris. They have also contracted out their planning and zoning to something called the COG, the Council of Cities. The board is picked by people like Russell Fry. He's a representative here in Surfside. On the COG sits one guy named Bob Childs, former mayor of Surfside Beach. The piece of property here is in the name of Brown Bethune, but everyone who lives in the city of Myrtle Beach knows that Brown Bethune works at the whims of his wife, Brenda. Brenda operates and owns Better Brands Distributing. Better Brands is a $100 million business, supposedly. That's what we're told the estimates are, $100 million. It owns all the distributorship rights for alcohol in our area. Now, in this unprecedented time, when so many businesses are closed, alcohol is considered an essential item. And beer sales, alcohol sales are up 22%. But during this unprecedented time, while everything's closed, this piece of property is being rezoned today, or putting up for being rezoned. The Council of Cities chose the planning director of the city of Myrtle Beach, Coleman, to preside over this hearing, to be the quote-unquote agent. Now, what's weird about that is Coleman, until recently, had a live-in understanding at the home of Brenda and Brown Bethune. Now, I know how these comments go, and we want to be professional here. The sexual preferences of Miss Coleman are none of our concern, or neither are Miss Bethune's nor her husband's. However, please note, Miss Coleman makes over $100,000 a year with the city, and she certainly can afford her own residence. She now has her own residence, but previously she lived in the home of the Bethunes. So for her to be deciding on this piece of property, number one, as an employee of the city of Myrtle Beach, number two, as a former house guest of the Bethunes, is quite odd. Number two, Mr. Pieper. Mr. Pieper's called this emergency meeting. He's called this emergency meeting while he's holding up bids on the Surfside Beach Pier. Why is that of interest? Of interest is Mr. Bill Howard. Bill Howard is a county councilman who has previously leased the pier, who's met with Councilman Michael Drake and Dave Pellegrino, and been very amenable to re-signing a lease. For whatever reasons, Mr. Pieper is blocking and tackling to make sure that lease does not happen. However, he's called an emergency meeting for this piece of parcel today. With that said, we have Russell Fry, a representative involved in this. We have a former mayor, Bob Childs, who sits on the COG. We have Coleman, a former house guest of the Bethunes, who now is the planning director for Myrtle Beach, overseeing this piece of property listed in Brown Bethune's name. This is definitely an odd affair, and there's no reason to have this emergency meeting today. I will read you the ordinance. Whereas the Mayor and Town Council of Surfside Beach duly assembled on the 14th of April 2020. And whereas a planned development is a zoning tool authorized by state legislation to be employed by the Town Council after it is determined that the proposed PD meets the requirements of mixed use in Division 9 and 17 of the Town of Surfside Beach zoning ordinance. Now therefore, by the power and authority granted to the Surfside Beach Town Council by the state of South Carolina, that Surfside Beach zoning map is hereby amended as set forth. That's for this property behind us. Surfside Beach Planned Development District, PDD, encompassing 7.7 acres, designed with the intent of incorporating compatible commercial uses with single zoning district using enhanced site planning, architecture, landscaping, and interconnectivity among the included uses, while incorporating the most enduring standards of existing ordinances and codes of towns of Surfside Beach. The PDD anchors by a 3-story climate-controlled shelter. Climate-controlled shelter will go here, with the capacity to store both documents, personal valuables, and individual storage spaces, each accessed through a common entrance, elevator, and interior quarters. This structure, along with a smaller jewel box retail restaurant location adjacent to the storage facility, provides an attractive road frontage. Highway 17 fronts this piece of property. Highway 17 is just right here. These buildings are architecturally enhanced to project the curb appeal designed to attract patrons with higher household incomes. A storage facility. In the rear of the storage facility and the Jewel Box retail restaurant location is an outdoor storage area. This is where the contention is. They want to be able to store things outdoors. The mayor of Myrtle Beach, her husband, their group of investors want to be able to use this facility for outdoor storage. Folks, this isn't just an abuse of government, it's an aberration of government. This is wrong. Any way you look at this, in these unusual times, the city bureaucrat, the city manager of Surfside Beach is operating business as usual. The duly elected mayor of Surfside Beach is not even allowed access to the town's computer system by the city manager. So, why isn't he fired? He hasn't been fired because Bob Childs, the previous mayor who now sits on the COG, and his team, once they realized last fall that the election was going south and some pro-resident candidates were probably going to win, they passed an ordinance stating that it takes a 5-vote majority to fire this city manager. 5 votes. It also takes a supermajority to change that ordinance. Mr. Piepers is locked in for the next 19 months. But, as it goes with all tyrants, Mr. Pieper, your 19 months will come and go. There's nothing about this that's seeming. It's unseeming. It's wrong. It's unjust. And, as it is with all tyrants, your day will come 19 months down the road when this town can elect a handful more, two more residents, 2 more resident-focused leaders, 2 more councilmen that will certainly see the end of this nonsense. This is David Hucks, signing off from Myrtle Beach SC in Surfside Beach.